What's up, everyone? Dave Dustin here again, another video. This one is going to be about a comic book unboxing of British comics. We've got a bunch of 1940s, 50s British comics in here that I just had brought over from London, England area. And a lot of these books are actually going to be cartoon arts production books, Captoons also known. It's from Glasgow, Scotland, a little publisher out there. They have also had tiny little print runs. Like every book that they've ever came out with is just extremely scarce, where there's only a copy known to exist or a few copies known to exist of each of their books. Extremely rare stuff I'm going to show you. And because it's all about cartoon arts productions, up here on my rack I changed everything up so there's a new background everyone can take a look at. These are all cartoon art productions books that I have in my collection that I brought over. Some extremely rare stuff up there. I love this little publisher. They did a lot of reprints of American stuff, but then he also did a bunch of original British stuff. I like that even the most. Like anything by Dennis Malcolm Reader. He did Electro Girl and Super Duper and Buster and Acromaid. He did a lot of work in all these comics. Did the American style, like action-packed and great artwork. I just love all the stuff. I'm collecting all of his work, and I'm collecting actually all the cartoon arts books. I'm going to try and collect everything that they actually came out with and published back in the 40s and 50s there. So, get into this mail call. Just going to open this up. All right. Okay, so first thing in this mail call we got nostalgia about comics. Well, this is neat. This is actually a book came out, I think it was in 70s or 80s. I'm not sure. It's by Phil Clark and Mike Higgs. It's all about British comics, and it shows a whole bunch of the British comics that are out there. But what I wanted this for is because this is the book here at the back. It has a bunch of Canadian comics, the Canadian British comics that had covers. I have some of these in my collection, and then there's also a couple more pages. And there's this page here with the non-covered comics that were 1946 edition by Century Publications, Superior Comics. These were published with no covers to begin with, and they were sent directly over to the UK to be distributed by Streamline Books in London, England. So they were never distributed here in Canada, only out in the UK. And I've brought a whole bunch of these back. I made videos about a whole bunch of these, my collection there with the 1946 Century Publications comics, and also the bound set I've got, the bound volume from the Dennis Gifford collection, where he had 17 comics bound. Half of them were the non-covered, and half of them were these covered ones with the covers were removed. And I actually got the bound edition from Phil Clark. Had sold it. He had it in his collection for 20 years since he got it on auction from the estate of Dennis Gifford when he passed away. And I bought it from him at the end of 2021, the Dennis Gifford bound volume. So I've been referring to that ad on a whole bunch of videos and online and pictures. I just pulled a photo off the internet I found of that. But it's great to actually have that now, so I can show that off, that advertisement there for the non-covered comics. Then, okay, so here we go. So speaking of the non-covered comics, Mr. Lucifer Comics. So right there, this is the first ever full cover-to-cover horror comic ever distributed in the UK. It's the first horror comic, anthology style, multiple stories, all horror content, all type horror genre type stories, multiple new content, cover to cover, it's all horror related. That is the first horror comic ever distributed in London, England by Streamline Books. It was in 1946. In the indicia, it is Mr. Lucifer Comics, published by Crestwood Publishing Company, 26 Denison Square, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Printed in Canada, all material copyright in Canada. So it's got Crestwood Publishing. I think that was for because of paper shortages and paper rationing. I can't find any info on that publisher at all, but this is from the series of books. All the artwork was from Bailey Publications in the United States, 1945 artwork that they did. And they went out of business in 46. And in 46, Century Publications, also known as Superior Comics, bought almost their entire line of artwork and published all of their books. Some of them with covers that were in Canada and in the UK. Some of them with covers just in the UK. And then there was these comics, no covers. This first page story becomes the cover. So Mr. Lucifer is the first story. So it became Mr. Lucifer Comics. That's really awesome. I got videos made about that. So now I have 3 of the only 5 known copies of Mr. Lucifer Comics. And Conquerors. So this one is, there's a few more of this same series, 1946, Century Publications. This is from Conqueror Comics. This one, the seller said that there was a printing defect where the pages were, Okay, so that's weird. Okay, so inside this book, so this is an unread book. It's not all read, that's for sure. You can't read it. You can't open the pages on some of these pages. It's got a printing defect. So these 1, 2, 3, 4 pages here are all connected at the top. And some of them would be flipped upside down. So it's like it was a big sheet of paper was used, and they folded it over and folded it over again and folded it over again, and then stapled it in, became the comic. And I guess they were supposed to trim off more of the top so they would no longer be connected. But they didn't trim the top of this, so these pages are all connected at the top. And then further in the book, they were connected as well at the top. So it's like a whole sheet of paper that was folded over, put in here, didn't get properly cut by the printer. So they're all still attached, the top to the pages. That's great. I've never seen that printing defect ever before on any comic. That's different. There's Conqueror Comics. Oh, and that's strange too. Okay, so this one has a printing defect also. This one is missing the lower staple. Quality control right out the window on this line, eh? So this should have had a second staple down here, and it's only got 1 staple. See, I've noticed that the staples on these, because so they're all done differently. Some of them have 2 staples, saddle stitched right through from the outside to the middle, the outside to the middle of the book. They come out in the middle. But then some of them only have 1 staple, and it goes right in the middle and out in through the middle, saddle stitched. But then like this one, like the Conquerors, if you look at this one, the staple goes in the front and comes right out the back. I've never seen comics bound this way, stapled in, not saddle stitched to come out the middle, but to come right out the back. The only time I've ever seen this is with multiple comics that were combined together, or really large volumes, and they put big staples through them, but then it would have like a cardstock cover glued onto all the pages to cover it. I've never seen small, regular sized comics stapled through front to back this way. That's different. A little strange. Anyway, let's keep going. There's going to be some really awesome stuff in here too. Oh, where do we even start with this? Oh, wow. Okay, so I wasn't expecting this, but I know what this is. I'm definitely taking this. Wow, I didn't know I was going to be in there. Better Comics. This is Better Comics 38. That is really cool. Like, this is really awesome. This is a Canadian comic. It's got a $6 price on it. So this was distributed in the UK. This was a 1946 comic. Yeah. Published bi-monthly by Maple Leaf Publishing, BC, Canada. And it's black and white inside, interior. So this is one of the Canadian whites. It's a black and white comic. That's really cool. The only other one of these I have that's a black and white inside a Canadian white comic would be, it's probably in the other room now. Captain Commando. I have this color cover and black and white inside. That's really cool. This is I knew what this was when I first saw this, because I just saw back late last year a thing about it being the 80th anniversary of the first comics in Canada. So Better Comics #1 from like 1941 was the first ever Canadian comic. The first comic published in Canada was Better Comics #1. This is Better Comics #38. So this is the last issue they made. The last few issues had British pricing on them. They were distributed in Britain. So it's like the Century Comics, the same thing. So they tried to break into international market because there was still a trade embargo between Britain and the United States. They couldn't import non-essential goods, including comics, from the States into the UK. Same with here in Canada up till 1945. We couldn't import American comics. That's why we had these Canadian comics that was color covers and black and white Canadian content, pure Canadian work inside. Most of these in 1946, they went to color inside to try and compete with the American comics. And then after 1946, they were all done. There was no more Canadian comics, really. Very, very few. Most of them had all shut down, and it was all American reprints after 1947 and on. That is really awesome. I didn't even know what I was going to be coming with this, but I'm definitely taking this. I'm not sending this back. I'm going to buy this for sure. I like this. I told him I like this. This is great. I can't believe this. This is fantastic. Look at this. It's got tape on it. All over the spine's got tape. Front's got tape. Back's got tape. But this is fantastic. This is Canadian history. I love this. That's awesome. Wow. Okay, then I'll take this out. This is extremely awesome. This is extremely rare. Not even sure what this is or where this is from. Okay, check this out. This is from Cartoon Arts Productions, Captoons. A broadsheet, comic and adventure stories for boys of all ages, 5 to 50. The Fighting Brit, all British boys paper. Check that out. That is fantastic. I don't even know where this would have been. Maybe like a newspaper supplement or something that was stuck inside of a newspaper. And this is like a comic section pullout. It's got the comics here, Daredevil Denver. So these are strips comics that would have been in like the Super Duper title. And here on the back, so you see Super Duper Youngsters in the News, Super Duper Crossword number 5. So this might have been from Super Duper number 5, if it's the crossword number 5, and each of them had one in it. And then it has big long stories still continued. Some more strips. That is awesome. Wow, that's fantastic piece of history. Like, you can't find these anywhere. Like, these don't exist. People barely kept the comics. People did not keep these little comic supplements. These things were destroyed left, right, center. There's like none of these left. These things are so extremely, extremely rare. That is fantastic. The Fighting Brit. The story is 2-Bit Sheriff by John Thaden. That's so interesting. I got to research this because I have no idea where this even comes from. Oh, we got some more Cartoon Art comics. This is really cool. Show you these. Senorita Rio. That's awesome. Check that out. Senorita Rio. All Action Comics, 60, priced in UK. And it's not a glossy slick cover. It's like a pulp cover. Rip Carson, Risks Unlimited, and it's got some original British strips on the front and back covers. They did that on a bunch of their books, Cartoon Arts. So they'd have American reprints inside. Inside the covers, they'd have British strips. Senorita Rio Comics. That's fantastic. And then another Cartoon Arts comic. Oh, this one has something sticking out of it. What is? Oh, and here's another supplement. We know where the Hooks Devlin ended up and wherever it was. So here's a free comic supplement. Once again, Cartoon Arts Productions. This thing extremely rare. I can't even believe this. This is fantastic stuff. It's another fold out. Wow, you gotta be so careful with it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so those pages upside down. Let's talk about Hooks Devlin in the Next Fight Comics. The couple pages, Jungle Jinx. More of that Hooks Devlin, Special Agent. Professor Adam. Free comic supplement. So it doesn't even mention Cartoon Art on this anywhere. There's nothing saying where it's from, but these would have been in, because they did, I know Cartoon Arts did have a couple books, Big Fight Comics and Little Fight Comics, and I think there's a regular Fight Comics. They did a few issues. This is probably from Fight Comics. that's crazy. Those things are so interesting. I gotta look into the history of these things. They're so very interesting. Like, I don't even know where that would have been. Like another comic, something in a newspaper of some sort. And then here's what I was in. That was in Captain Fight. Check this out. You got to see the cover of this. Look, he's got the sword going right through him. Blood on the sword, blood dripping down the back of a kid's comic. I am so surprised that they could have left that on the cover of a kid's comic back in the day, because back then they weren't considered to be adult reading. It was children's comics. And to have the sword going right through and out the back, covered in blood and blood dripping off it, that is incredible. Like I was shocked when I saw it. That's crazy. That's just awesome. Also extremely, extremely rare. Both of these not photoed on the Grand Comic database. I don't think this one's even listed as existing. And I already have, there's another Captain Fight Comics. So here's Captain Fight Comics from around like 1950, and that same thing, that's probably from like 1948 or 9. It doesn't have slip cover like this one does. That one, it's got like a pulp cover like the other one. Got all Action Comics at the top. But yeah, so here's Captain Fight Comics #1, and then here's another Captain Fight Comics. That's really cool. Extremely, extremely rare. I've never seen these before anywhere. That's awesome. So okay, so now we've got some Into the Westerns here. Straight Arrow. And it's got number 18 at the top. Straight Arrow 18, volume 218, Cartoon Arts Productions. They did a bunch of Western comics. Oh, you got a few of them now. Straight Arrow. Here's another Durango Kid. Durango Kid number 27. See, now I looked on the Grand Comic database. It only has a few of them listed on the Grand Comic database. I have here, I got a Durango Kid number 3. There's another early issue, and then there's nothing listed in between. I don't think number 3 and then this number 27. I don't even know if there are a whole bunch in between, or if they just made up the number. Sometimes they made up higher numbers just to make it seem like it had been around longer, so more kids would want to buy it, thinking that was a better established comic. It was a better book if it lasted that long. So sometimes they put false numbers. I don't know if they went up to actually 27 Durango Kids. Maybe they did, and they're just not pictured there because they're so extremely rare. Okay, now we got a pile of more Westerns. Get them in order. Sure, 1, 2. There's a whole bunch of them here. Okay, so we got Best of the West. Best of the West number 1. He's got Straight Arrow, Durango Kid, Ghost Rider, and B-Bar-B Raiders. Best of the West number 1. Best of the West number 2. I already had number 2 actually. I got it up there on the rack. Here it is. Best of the West number 2. It's the only Best of the West I had until now. So I already had a Best of the West 2. Then we have number 3, third issue of Best of the West, number 3. This one, strangely, the other ones are all thicker. They're all double the size, and they have glossy, slick magazine covers like normal comics. This one is just a pulp cover, just like newsprint. It's really cool. The 4th big issue of Best of the West, number 4. That's really cool too. This is really neat. I like this cover. This is a neat little cover. This is Best of the West number 6, the 6th big issue of Best of the West. Like all these ones that have Ghost Rider in them. I like the Ghost Rider strips. Starting to like the shoot 'em ups. We got Best of the West number 7. We got Best of the West number 11. And Best of the West number 12. So I got a whole big pile of Best of the Wests. Then just got one more in here. We got this is neat too. It's Kid Colt Outlaw album #1. Look, he's got some card covers. It's not cartoon artist is Strato. I'm gonna give this a read, and then probably gonna end up selling it. But looks like good for a read. Kid Colt Outlaw. It's a neat little book too. And that's all I got. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Till next time. Cheers.